Hey everybody, this is Doug Gross, and we're back with another video working the tank game. So we haven't changed a lot. I was getting ready to work on the armory when Grogger actually went ahead and asked me if I would go ahead and take the toxic waste we have and start working on some kind of lava texture. So I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and do this on camera. That way I can show you how we make the damage tile system and how we make the tiles as well. Now, theoretically, what's going to end up happening here later, probably either next week or so on, we're going to start using a tool built by Morton, who's our text artist who works on the mods for us and stuff. He's actually built a tool sometime last year. He actually updated it for me that'll let us create these connected textures here automatically. So it'll give us 47 connected textures to work with. And then theoretically what I can do is I can program some kind of tile to automatically import those based on a pattern. I can go, okay, like here's what you're looking for and you want like index 43 through 49 or something. You guys get the point. But for the moment, we're just going to get started. That way our level designer has some stuff to work with. Because with how Unity is designed, I can take this section here, duplicate it, make another tile, and then if I come in here later and we end up needing to use different textures and stuff, I can just update the textures in the tile and the map will update with it, which is really, really, really useful. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to just drag this down here, and I want to get some space here because I'm probably going to... Actually, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We're just going to get a block space. I know they're separate tiles. And did we not copy something here, right? I moved that over there. No, actually, I think it's... Oh, there we go. It's fine. It's just GIMP was moved it a little too far. So you've got that. Actually, this is Control-Z so I can get that selector still. And we just want to colorize this. So when we get this, we're like just going... And this isn't going to be the only thing we do with it, but I want to just get kind of close. Get something we can work with. Yeah, this is probably not going to work the way I want it to. But we at least got something red. And then what I want to do with this is I actually want to select this here. And I want to colorize this. And I want to make this a really dark color. Just like take all the brightness out of it. The reason for this is what I'm thinking about doing is that the edge of the lava, which is what this is going to be, I want to have it be like crusted. Like you would see with it how it started cooling into... what is it? Is it called obsidian? When it cools into rock, we'll just go with that. So you want to make sure it actually has this little crustation around there. And it's not the only thing we want to go with. We do want to kind of do a little bit more there. I want to keep the dithering pattern almost, but at the same time I don't. So we're just going to go in here and kind of just texture this. I'll probably ask Morton to make some textures for this here later, because he has kind of shown some interest in this, but not a huge amount. So unlikely we're going to get him to do a lot of texture work, but I could ask, and at least we get somewhere. Think like a darker color. Actually, let's get a picture here. Let me close the video I was previously watching. I was watching a video on French tanks. Yeah, not exciting stuff, but do research where you can type of thing. So we want kind of magma, because we might get a darker color by searching magma. Because that's kind of what I'm thinking right there, something like that, where you get this kind of crystallization here. So we don't want just like this pure, fresh lava. We want something a little bit more with something with depth, like this here. So you've got this nice dark edge on the outside, and then it gets a little deeper red, and then you get this cracks of yellow. Is what I'm thinking. I'm not going to be able to pull that off because I'm not a texture person, but we'll toy with it. I don't know. We'll do something. Let's think. Let's do, you know, I'm just going to do stuff. Just to wing it. Trying a little too hard to keep our textures clean, and the reality of it is when you make good texture work, sometimes texture work is dirty. Sometimes you make mistakes and you just kind of roll with them. Textures don't have to be clean. And I think if we make our lava texture like this unclean, dirty mess, I think it'll actually pay off. We'll get a much better texture. Now there is something I do need to make sure we pay attention to, because we got the dividing lines between this. So if we put this here, this has to duplicate, duplicate, and duplicate over, or it's not going to connect properly. I almost made that mistake of not paying attention to that. So we'll have to make sure we are paying attention. And we are trying to duplicate between these. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to remember there's dividing lines because of that spillover or whatever it's called. I haven't even been paying attention to my own work. Just like that. Like that. Get just a rough shape going here. This looks more like a watermelon right now than it does like anything else. So I get to that. We're not going to worry too much about... Well, we'll have to do these as well down here. These get a little bit more complicated because of the whole connected texture system. That you need to do certain things and have certain things working a certain way. At least the music's decent. I've got this actually turned down on my headset and it still sounds loud. Can't remember if I actually turned it up or not. I know the webcam, when I was doing editing on the last couple of videos, which are currently still baking, literally, I'm not even joking, like, 'cause by the time you see this video, these ones are already going to be baked and uploaded. Yeah, that takes forever to do. I started that this morning at like 8 o'clock. It does take quite a significant time to do video render. That's why you see big YouTube companies actually do this stuff for more of a living than I do. Like, I'm doing this just for more of the fun of it. I don't ever expect to make money from YouTube, and even if I ever did, it really wouldn't change anything. I'd pretty much do the same thing. I'll still be out here making mods, still be out here making games. Still be doing my own thing. I don't know if I want to make this too chaotic. Yeah, it'll work. And then in theory, what we would do is then this gray here, which we might want to go ahead and just do this ahead of time, is just make a texture right there. That's what it is. It's just a gray, rocky texture, and that'll be something we put on the edge of this lava pool. And then you start like staging it outward, so you go from your lava to your obsidian to then your normal stone to then whatever you had. We're going to definitely be throwing things like decoration layers in here. That's how we're going to actually be handling all that stuff. We've been talking back and forth between me and Grogger, been trying to figure out how we're going to go about this, and decoration layers is going to really be the majority way we handle things. Thinking about that, what we really should be doing with the lava here is not even be putting this edge here. Just completely ignore that edge. Like, throw it out of our textures. And then just do this hole. And that's the same thing I was thinking about doing with this up here. Is doing the same exact concept. And then just completely ignoring the edge here. And then we do an animated texture. That is our actual texture here. And then we do a separate edge texture that comes over top. And that would solve a lot of the complexity about how we're going to go about handling a lot of our texturing, because we do have to work around Unity. Unity has some limitations. Okay, that looks good. So now we really need to match this color. I like how that's just watermarked. Oh wow, look at that. That is really the kind of stuff I was thinking of. You get this really pitch black thing. So I've seen photos that my uncle sent to my mom where he lives in Hawaii when there was a volcanic eruption and stuff. He was sending photos and stuff, so I got to see a few like actual really nice photos of real stuff. But that's the kind of concept, is that you'd have this black rock on the outside with then this magma in the middle. And this has kind of got like reds and oranges and yellows. It's got yellow in the middle, so the middle will be really bright. And we are just going to like fail at this. And it's especially going to be the case because I have trouble seeing various shades of red. So me trying to actually do this is not something I should be doing right now. But I want to take a swing at it. That way, what I could do is when I go find an actual texture artist who has a pretty decent concept of what they're doing, that I can just be like, here, this is kind of what I was thinking, just use it and then maybe fix the collars and have a bit more, I don't know, creativity with it. Yeah. One problem you got to realize is that this center block here is going to be tiled. So this is going to need to repeat. It's going to need to connect with other tiles. So let's not do that. Let's get a get orange going. Yeah, that looks bad. Let's scale this back. It's a little nicer. I don't know, I kind of like that orange though. Let's do this. So we know this is going to connect. And we keep that middle like a very dense kind of. So you'll have the edge tiles here. And these are going to have to tile. So this one's going to have to tile with itself. That's a really big thing to think about. Is that whatever we have on this side, we need to repeat on the other side. So I'm going to do that. Like maybe something like that to give it a little bit more. And the same thing down here. Whatever we get on this side has to tile on that side, which we already did, so that's good. That was more by mistake. And the same thing with here. This one's going to have to tile. And then the same thing down here. This one's going to have to tile as well. So at least we're getting our shape down. Although, to be honest, we really do kind of want to scatter a bit. So let's do something like this. This is going to look horrible in-game, actually. But you can imagine we get an actual text artist messing with this, and animating it, and playing around with it. It'll look a little less horrible. And then you throw some randomization here, where, like, say for example, we had like 3 versions of this one right here, or you had like a couple animation versions of this that you would be cycling back and through. It wouldn't look as bad. And then you also got to remember that when we actually do this, that's what that actually looks like size-wise. So at that zoom level, that's not too bad. I mean, it looks like a little kid made this, but you'd be surprised what type of texture work you can get away with. We smear it around a little bit here to give it a little bit more flavor. Looks like I'm making pizza rather than I'm making lava. I wonder if we get a spray paint feature. I'm pretty sure we do. Right there. And we need to make sure our brush is a little higher. Grab this. Because what I want to do is get like a... Oh wow, that's pretty deep. Get our opaquency a little less. Because now we're seeing, like when we're doing this, we're starting to get a little bit of noise on the level. And it's starting to actually get a little bit more character. I wonder if we can apply jitter, maybe? I don't really know how to use this tool, so we're kind of just messing around. It's not really what I want to do with this. I really do want to apply noise, but if we're going to do noise, let's make sure we select the colors we're going to noise. So we only want this, and let's make sure I didn't accidentally select anything else on the level, which we didn't. And then we'll do filter, distort maybe? Light and shadow, let's see what this. Supernova. Yeah, not what we want. So noise and spread maybe. Yeah, this will work. Now we just have to go through and touch it up because the connected textures are no longer a thing. Get our brush size back down to 1. So the problem with doing that is actually really just mess up the texture look. You know what? See, do that. That way this connects to that side. We'll come over here and check this one out. So this one's going to have a problem connecting to itself. Connected. That one's good. That's good, because that'll connect to itself. There we go, that'll connect. This one's a little sketchy on connection, but it's not like... It's not something that's going to be severely noticeable. Let's like throw a couple dots out there. I think this will work. It looks really bad, but it'll work. And then one other thing we can do is make this edge a little less heavy. These are connected, right? Connected, kind of. No, that one's not. This wouldn't tile properly. And this one wouldn't tile properly either. It'll be fine. So go ahead and save that and we'll get this set up. So we then want to do File, Export. And then we want to go ahead and make the tile. So making the tiles is actually surprisingly easy. It's just more time consuming than anything else. We then want to go Objects, Tiles. I've got a rule tile thing. There's a thing you really can't duplicate these, as far as I can tell. There's no duplicate option, but what we're going to do is basically the same thing. So we just need to go here, create rule tile. In the future, what I want to go ahead and do with these is actually create my own custom tile that works similar to the rule tile, but doesn't have this huge list of tiles. It just knows that you're going to do connected textures and knows it needs 47 textures as an input. This is going to be our lava. Well, we're going to call this a magma. Because we may have a difference between the tiles. So we're going to need to be able to select our sprites. And the problem with how this just exported is our tiles are going to be everywhere. So we're going to actually want to go back up to our textures and name up all our textures. So we can go to Sprite Editor. We can actually literally come in here and we can call this magma, and this would be northwest. And we'll just use the letters for these. I think it's the same thing I do up here. No, actually, I call these top right and top left. Let's make sure we're doing the same thing. Okay, so this would be top left. Try to keep somewhat consistent. This would be top right. Pause there was more because I just realized that this is called tutorial level set, and yet we're going to be using these for more than just a tutorial, so I'm probably going to want to rename that texture sheet. Yeah, magma right. Magma bottom right. What I might even be able to do is figure out some kind of way where we can just do like a prefix, like look for file name starting with magma, and then you're looking for like top, left, right, something, anti-corner. We'd have to then come through and name all of them, but it might not be as bad. This would be magma left. And we're going to ignore these bottoms ones down here because these are not hard to do, but we don't have textures for them, really. And I'm just going to tell Grogger, do not make lava pools that are single block tile, and I think he'll be okay with that. And then we'll cut down on the number of textures we need, because then we only need 9 textures for the lava. And of course, that little basalt thing here, so it's actually going to be basalt? Do you spell basalt? I don't think it is. Use Google to spell check. You need to use a spell checker in it, actually. It'd be kind of nice. Ah, the U is optional. Okay, so that's got all of our stuff there. Hit apply to make sure it saves everything, and it'll rename the files for us. It'll give us our lava there, and then we can go back to our wool tile. So it'll be somewhere over here. Objects, tiles, rules. There we go. Select our texture, and then we can just type in magma, and that'll get us our magma there, which looks really bad. Also, kind of looks like sunspots on the sun too. Let's get all of our stuff in here. So this is literally just going to be select a texture, and we're just going to go through and grab each one. So we should have 8 in here, because I'm actually not going to do the center one, because the center by default would be used. So we're going to need 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're just going to go through and select these. Ready to do the center. There we go. So this is actually remarkably easy to do, and also you want to make sure your colliders are set to grid. Not that it matters much. If you do sprite, it's going to be about the same. I don't know if there's a performance difference. Colliders are important because we are going to make these damage tiles. And then our rule is fixed. So really how this is going to work, we don't care if there's anything there. We know we want something in this direction. This is a corner by the look of it, so we don't want anything on these. This is the other corner, nothing on these sides. And this only counts for the same texture, by the way, with this system. It doesn't care about anything else. And that should get us all of our texture sprites. And then all we need to do is come over here to our smart tile list, because I actually have a list I use specifically for all the smart tiles. Put that in there. I'm going to save scene, even though save scene is going to do squat. And what we're going to do is, I have a big pad out here which we can just paint on. So let's get our brushes out. So I'm going to paint down this here. And let's get out of my big size brush, although my size brush would be useful for this, but that's not what we're going to do. Click this. So this is the toxic waste, this is how it behaves. When you paint it, it'll actually do connected textures for you automatically, based on what it has to down around it. So you get this here, and it actually does work really, really well. The toxic waste actually does have the ability to kind of do single. It doesn't have anti-corners, but it can get close. Now what we just made should do the same exact thing. And you notice how it's got that where it's showing only single? That is because we don't actually have anti-corners. So the smallest we can do is that. Will be the smallest size we can get away with. If we try to do something like this, it's not going to work. It's going to look really weird. If we also try to do this, this is kind of, if you want to test to make sure all your textures are working for anti-corners and stuff, just come through and draw something simple like this. And then you can do that. I want to actually make sure something's here, because then what we'll do later is I'm going to come through here and maybe do anti-corners anyways. Even though I said I really wasn't going to, there's always that possibility I'm going to change something, but then we know that that's there, that there is a problem with it. We can visually come in here and actually check and see all this. Then also my ground tiles do the same thing here, so these are literally the same as the green ones up here. But that gets our lava here, and what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go paint this on the game floor out here, and we're going to go see what it looks like in game, and then we're going to do some damage with it. So let's go ahead and paint a nice orange floor here. Right there. So that doesn't actually look that bad. It's a little brighter in the middle than I really anticipated, but this is what I was talking about one of the videos where resolution does kind of matter. Because once you start zooming out, you're going to see kind of the majority color. And you see the edge doesn't blend very well. This is where I kind of need to blend that orange a little more in towards the edges. So that way you don't get that breakup, you don't get that jarring look at the texture. In-game, that looks okay. I don't think you're going to know that's lava right away, especially the fact I have a tendency to use a lot of orange in my level blockouts. But if we had like a metal floor around that, it would look a little bit more obvious. And of course, if I get some lighting effects and some shader effects on that, that probably would pop a little bit better. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do shader effects on this because I don't think we can individually select shader per tile. I think we have to do it on the map itself. So we'll have to look into how to go about doing that. Maybe we could throw a normal map, or not normal, maybe just a normal. I actually need to go read up on this. It's been a while since I've done lighting. But next part is getting this to damage. Now to do the damage here, it's actually remarkable because I already have it set up for this level, but to show you how to do it, is that what you want to do is you want to create a layer that you're going to be painting on, add a collider to it, add a very simple script. The script literally just goes, if I have something enter, track my entering object. Make sure we can damage it though, so we have to make sure we're damaged. If we exit, we stop tracking. And then for fixed update, so every time we update cycle, you could do this on update as well. I'm just doing a fixed update because I want to keep it consistent with the physics updates. And then I just attack the object. So it doesn't really matter too much, not too big of a deal. Depends on what kind of gameplay you want to go for. If you do it on each update, you're going to be running that check every single frame. But it does mean your damage is going to be applied every frame, so you'll get a much more consistent damage application. So as long as somebody's computer is running well, it'll be applied consistently. Fixed damage should apply consistently as well, but if the computer's performance goes up and down, you can change how many times fixed updates call. It's supposed to be called a fixed number of times per second. It doesn't always work that way. Same with doing update doesn't. As long as you do the delta time though, it should work. It's just it'll behave differently. But that'll actually do that, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and paint this on here. So we got the toxic waste layer, which is what I call it. I'm gonna actually rename it to a damage layer in the future. And we grab our smart tile, grab that, make sure we're selecting the right layer, and we just come right over here, and we need to make sure we're in the correct view, and just paint right over top of it. If you find yourself being confused whether or not what layer you're actually doing stuff on, and you want to know where things are in your damage, like say for example you want to turn this toxic layer off and you wanted to know where if that was still there, the way I end up actually doing this is I'll end up painting something else here on that layer and actually go about doing that. That way I can see it. We can actually see this down in my test screen down here, which I have the toxic waste. I have a very just plain pale layer down here that actually represents where the toxic waste is, and when I turn toxic waste on, you can see the toxic waste in its colliders, and it does make a huge difference. And over here you can see the same thing, lava with its colliders, and if we actually hit play, we can run over this and this should damage. See me ice scale out real quick. So I'm just going to run over this, and you can see I immediately start taking damage. Really simple mechanic to do this. It means I don't have to do anything special. If I do want different damage applications, I could, in theory, in the future, actually program my collider to detect what kind of tile we're on top of. And more preferably, you would just make multiple layers. It isn't really that big of a deal to have multiple grids in your thing and actually working with it. Anyways, I'll leave you guys here, and I'll be back with more content updates.